What's up, everyone? My name is Atropolis. I'm a teacher here at 343 Labs in New York and online. We're now going to explore the tonal shaping of Wavetable and how we can introduce harmonics and drive to increase the presence of our sound. Okay, there's a little bit more that we can do to bring out the tone. The click definitely helped it, but there's still some more things that we're gonna look at to go further. Just know from this point onward, we're now gonna be looking at like distortion, compression, and some of Ableton's new audio processing tools that will elevate the sound even further. Okay, so we looked at how our envelope 2 can give us that little pop by modulating the pitch of our oscillator very quickly. Now we're gonna start introducing some distortion, some drive. And there's a lot of ways we can do that. We're gonna start with Wavetable and see what components we have in Wavetable that can do that. The first place I'm gonna go is to my filter. Okay, our filter, we have these different circuits in here. These are emulating circuits from analog technology, so they all have a little bit of different character to them. And the way the analogy I like to think about, because when it comes to like this, it's like, oh, it looks the same. Might be a little silly. I like to refer to it as like a slice of pizza. You know, not all pizza in New York tastes the same. Not every filter that was made by an engineer, they all sound a little bit different. So these circuits are emulating famous filters from the past, from the analog era. I mean, it's still here today, and we're gonna get some different character. The moment we change from clean to any of these 4 different models, we're gonna notice right over here, we see this little driver, okay? And this is the distortion that I'm gonna start introducing. This is kind of like a push and pull system where I'm going to be pushing the drive, it's going to distort, it's going to increase the volume. As I am doing that, I will also be pulling down the volume of the overall synth. So I'm introducing harmonics, I'm introducing distortion that's going to increase the volume. As I'm increasing the volume, I will run into distortion and peaking, and I'll be in the red, which is why I'll be moving my drive up and pulling my volume down, which is a very common thing when you are adding distortion and working with some kind of form of saturation. Okay, so let's take a look. We're gonna actually hear the different kind of characteristics of these different circuits. Again, you're gonna wanna get out of clean. You'll notice the drive disappears. We're gonna start down here. Great. I'm going to be triggering with my MIDI controller. I'm just gonna be hitting some notes and adjusting, playing. I suggest you do the same. You're gonna wanna be playing, adjusting, listening, playing, adjusting, and listening. Okay, let's turn up this drive. You can see up here, you're gonna start seeing, let's see where our peak is. So I'm around 9 dB. I'm gonna increase the drive. You can see things are already getting crazy. We just traveled about 8 decibels. Okay, getting a little bit close. Mentioned that I'll be increasing the drive while I'll be decreasing the volume over here. Okay, cool. Let's push it a little bit. Let's get it even more distorted. This is where you are welcome to go as hard or as soft as you want. I don't want you to be copying exactly what I'm doing. I want you to make decisions based on what you want. So I'm gonna hang out here for now, and I'm gonna just kind of demonstrate the different qualities of these different circuits. I'm going to go to the next one. So I often will click on a parameter, and I like to use my up and down arrows on my computer keyboard to cycle through things. I do this a lot. So I'm gonna be cycling through these different circuits so you can hear them. And that's my favorite one when it comes to this. The last one just feels kind of like the cleanest. Gives me this kind of nice, round, warm, but still gives a little bit of a buzz. So that's where I like to be. But I want you to play with each of these. I want you to play with different degrees of drive. And now let's check it out and see what we got. Okay, getting closer, getting better. There are more things I can do inside of our wavetable that could potentially give us a little bit more attitude. So let's check it out. One thing I really need to point out, it's really important, and I was going to talk about this earlier, the default wavetable setting loads with a polyphonic voice setting. So this is not going to be good for us. I'm surprised I wasn't hearing the bleed over. Basically, when you're working with a bass, you generally want to have a monophonic synth. So please make sure you click on the poly, turn this thing into a mono. What that's going to do, if you have long releases, let's take this off real quick. If we have long releases on our amplitude, let's turn this up a little bit. Okay, that's like a long release. Now if I play fast, you can hear it gets a little sloppy because now I'm able to play, in this case, I'm able to play up to 8 voices at a time. When it comes to a bass is generally a monophonic instrument, especially in the world of the 808. Let's play the same thing. Let's turn it to mono. Okay, so I apologize. I wanted to start with that. Make sure you put that on. This is really, really important. You need to turn your monophonic voice on so you don't have any bleed. We have our envelope 2. We have our drive on. That could be enough. Let's start introducing more elements to the mix. Let's take a look at oscillator 2. So I mentioned Wavetable is a wavetable synthesizer. It's an additive synthesizer when you have more than one oscillator, and it's also subtractive when you have a filter and you're sculpting the sound with your filter. By adding another oscillator, I'm able to bring in another tone. And you can immediately hear that. There, let's bring it up a little bit. So this is the position of my wavetable, and I can introduce a little bit more harmonics. This is all about tone. So we added punch, and now we're really focusing on tone. We started with our driver. Now we're adding another oscillator. Oscillator 1 is more of a sine wave. Oscillator 2 is more of a triangle wave. It's a little bit brighter. And now you can hear we're getting that body that I'm looking for, that we're all looking for in our nice 808 that's going to cut on small desktop speakers, cut on your iPhone speakers, and just cut through the mix in general. It's all about adding harmonics. The harmonics add higher notes to the frequencies, and since our ears are more accurate in terms of perceiving these higher frequencies, this is why it helps the bass come out more. That's a really good place to be. I'm pretty happy here. But let's see what Wavetable has. Let's push this 808 and get a little crazy. In oscillator 2, I'm gonna go down here and we have some basic modulations, different ways of synthesizing this oscillator where we can basically transform this waveform even further. I'm not going to get into the specifics of each. You can honestly just kind of play with the settings with each of them and make a decision based on what you're hearing. I recommend trying all of them out, and I recommend trying them out by clicking on one, playing the notes, and adjusting. Frequency modulation, I'm going to turn up the frequency modulation amount. This is now we're traveling outside of that clean 808 world, and now looking at more kind of dirty and more rough, tough sounds that, you know, are a little bit more not as conventional as the typical 808 that we are used to. Okay, we got a lot of harmonics coming out. I could maybe lower the oscillator too. I could also maybe get my filter to move around. I have my filter moving around. I'm trying to cut these high frequencies and tame them a little bit, but I still kind of want that filter to pop a little bit. Just like an envelope 2 that's popping my pitch to give me that punch, I want this envelope to also kind of do something like this. but I can't really do that manually. I'm going to use my envelope 3 to make it pop a little bit more. Envelope 3 is now going to control my filter frequency. You'll notice in your matrix, the moment you click on a parameter, it's going to pop up in your matrix. And that's basically saying, hey, you want to map your amplitude envelope to your drive, your envelope 2 to your drive, or let's see, I'm talking about frequency. I want to map my envelope 3 to my frequency. So I click on it, it pops up in my matrix. Here's my envelope 3. What's awesome about Wavetable is you actually see the modulations happening. Okay, I'm going to turn this all the way up to 100. I'm going to make this tight. You can see my envelope is now moving according to my envelope 3. My filter is moving. Now there's a lot of movement. I can change the amount. That's maximum. Please go to that. I can change my frequency. I can now bring this lower. I can also say, hey, I don't want it to go as high. Okay, so these are other things we can do. We can use our filter envelope to kind of calm things down a little bit when it comes to these high frequencies. Going a little bit deeper, trying to reveal all of the modulations in Wavetable that can lead to some cool customizations to your 808 bass. Let's go ahead and check out some other effects. Let's go to the classic. I'm going to just change, this changes the way we see our wavetable. It's kind of fun. It's just a different representation. It's not actually changing the tone, just a different representation. So we have pitch width modulation. These are also things that we can modulate as well. So I mentioned in our matrix, the moment you click on a parameter, you're able to then map. So for example, if I want my pitch width, my pulse width to modulate over time, you know, I'm going to try out, I'm going to say, hey, let's try envelope 3. So we're just getting some movement there where the pulse width is modulating a little bit. I can also maybe have the position of my oscillator to get modulated, just to get some kind of cool tonal shift over time. Okay, so these are fun things. I'm just really taking full advantage of my matrix mappings. I'm in my oscillator too. I'm playing with the effects down here. We're looking at the FM. We're now looking at classic. Let's head over to modern. Take this off. Great. That would be most of the tools that I would get into with my wavetable that could really give us energy. We started with envelope 2. Let's kind of strip everything down real quick. Let's go backwards in time. Okay, let's rewind. Let's set it back. I started with one oscillator, default setting. Okay, went to the 808. I noticed there was a little click and a little pop. That little click and pop I'm going to get by routing my envelope 2 to my oscillator, to the pitch. If you're not seeing what I'm seeing, make sure you are accessing in your bottom and the top left, you're popping this open. So I'm introducing my click, envelope 2. I want you to hang out with envelope 2. Have fun with it. I'm holding my MIDI note on my MIDI controller. You generally want a fast attack. Short decay. The next thing I introduced, let's actually take away this distortion. I introduced the distortion drive that we have in our filter. We have different circuits. Try them all out. See which one you like. push and pull system, you'll be increasing the drive. As you increase the drive, the volume gets louder. Keep an eye out for your peak meter. Keep an eye out for your volume. As you're increasing the drive, you're going to want to decrease your volume. The last thing I got into with Wavetable was introducing my oscillator 2 into the mix. I was exploring these different effects that we can impose on our waveform. These are basically just further processes to twisting and bending and reshaping the waveform. And I went even deeper, and I decided that I was going to route and map some of these parameters to my envelopes. For example, I can route, as you can see when I touch on this, it should change the tone. It's okay. I'm routing my envelope 3. Let's cut that release a little bit. I'm gonna also do my position. Notice when you click on a parameter, it will pop up in your matrix. Have fun with it. Play with these envelopes 2 and 3 to see if you get some movement. Okay, we got a lot of high frequencies in there. I want to then maybe get this to respond as well. My filter, my frequency. I'm using my 2 envelopes. Okay, so a lot of different options. There's endless possibilities to how you shape your 808 bass using Wavetable. Now, that's Wavetable. The last area we're going to explore, focus on that, maybe pause this video and rewind it and just focus on just the Wavetable section before you move on to this next part, which is going to be just seeing some of Ableton's new audio effects like drum bus and pedal, and maybe how we can utilize those to also shape our tone even further. Okay, so focus on the Wavetable, focus on envelope 2, envelope 3, your matrix, your routings, oscillator 2, see what kind of tones you can get out of it.
.343 Labs is an electronic music school and community in downtown Manhattan. We offer courses for all levels of learning electronic music production, with course topics including Ableton Live, Logic, synthesis for music producers, songwriting and music theory, and more. To learn more about 343 Labs, head to 343labs.com. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more tutorials with our instructors, master classes, and content from our electronic music community.